glory days at the stick. From who's got it better than us to brick by brick. It's always the 49ers way, from off-season to game day. Yeah, we talk back. It's the 49ers Cutback.
It's 49ers Cutback podcast time. Welcome to the show, everyone. Game reaction show. The San Francisco 49ers just took care of business and knocked off the visiting New York Jets 32-19. And it was a fun game. A lot of fun to watch. Jordan Mason absolutely going out there and making things happen, but he didn't do it alone. There was some very timely, good passes from Brock Purdy. Some of the 49ers wide receivers and George Kittle made some plays, but the blocking was on point. The offensive line, the skilled players, whether that was Debo or Kittle or Jawan Jennings, they were doing a fantastic job of opening holes, and they really did take care of business against the Jets. One of the big things coming into this game was how good is that Jets run defense going to be against the 49ers? And the 49ers run offense was just so good today. Jordan Mason takes care of business and handles business like he's supposed to. And what's up, Josh? Josh says hashtag TCC. And welcome everyone to chat. And, you know, this game is so big to get started because everyone's been talking about the potential of there being a Super Bowl hangover and talking about vibes are different and things are different. Well, it felt like 49ers football today. The 49ers came out. The defense looked back on par, playing really well and absolutely getting third down stops. The one drive, not so much. Aaron Rodgers and that Jets offense did a good job. Garrett Wilson finding space. But for the most part, this was 49ers back to D'Amico Ryan's kind of defense, dominant defensive play, stopping the run and then playing pivotal defense, creating turnovers. Fred Warner with the punch out. Demetrius Flanagan fouls after Deommodore Lenoir knocks the ball in the air, gets the interception. It was good to see. So excited about those types of things that the 49ers were able to do in this football game. And ultimately, you're not going to play the cleanest game. Week one of the regular season, with the way that preseason happens now and the lack of reps that you get for your starters, the fact that Brandon Ayuk and Trent Williams didn't start practice until this week, you're just not going to have that much crispness to your offense. You're just not going to be all the way there. But overall, I thought that, you know, they got it done, and that's the most important thing. And you're hoping you're going to round into form in week 2, week 3, as you prepare for this season. And hopefully you're hitting on all cylinders. And you know that this season is made up of 3 different seasons. You got the first half, the second half, and then ultimately you've got the conclusion, which is playoffs and Super Bowl. And that's the most important time. Please like and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. I really appreciate it. If you're listening on audio platform, 49ers Cutback on Believe, please give it a 5-star rating. And if you're going to bet with Bet Online. Bet Online is the world's most trusted betting platform and your number one source for everything football. Bet Online is every stat, every matchup, even live odds and spreads to bet on during the games. You think you know your stuff? Get in on our $200,000 mega contest and pick 5 games against the spread every week for your chance at weekly prizes and a share of $200,000. When the game's over, head on over to our online casino and get in on a game of blackjack or poker or unwind with one of our over 150 slot games. Head to the website today to get in on the action. Bet Online. The game starts here. So I'm really excited to get into what you guys have been saying in chat. So if you're watching live, go ahead and put things in chat. And what's up to Mr. Corey? Mr. Corey says, remember I said 31-14. Solid guess. You know, I thought it was going to be hard for the 49ers to get to 30. I just thought that the Jets defense was going to be difficult to score points on. But the 49ers, 8 straight scoring drives, really moved the football and took advantage. Now, would we have liked to see a lot more touchdowns? Absolutely. But Jake Moody was capitalizing on those field goals, and the 49ers were able to get points. And that's the main thing. No open frames. You would like it to be a strike or a touchdown every single time. But that's not the NFL. Sometimes you have penalties, which penalties are frustrating, especially in this game, that go against you, or maybe you have a negative play that forces the drive to stall. And you got to make sure you walk away with points. And I thought that the 49ers at least did that. So there are some positives that come out of this game. But like Mr. Corey says, this game could have easily been 54-7 the way the 49ers were playing. And that's the good part because they weren't firing on all cylinders. This wasn't the most crisp 49ers offense, and that's okay. They're going to get better. And I think it was good that they were able to get some things done. And Josh says McKivitz struggled a bit, but still a great win. I think we did see McKivitz have some struggles. I thought that the 49ers offensive line did really good when it came to run blocking, and I thought they held their own when it came to pass protection. I don't think it's a clean game by any stretch of the imagination, but I thought we saw good play. There were times that they got taken advantage of, they got handled, but they were competing, they were battling, and I think that's the name of the game, is they won more times than they lost, and that's exactly what you have to do. But once again, this 49ers run game was superb. They were firing on all cylinders. They were creating holes for Jordan Mason. His great vision in this game also created some extra opportunities. Kyle Shanahan was scheming it up. So overall, the run game really made it easier for this 49ers offensive line. But yeah, Colt McKivitz, he's going to have his mistakes. That's for sure. We do not have a clean, proven commodity when it comes to Colt McKivitz. He's just got to get a little bit better. What's up, David? David says, Puni can't wait to see the film. They ran right more than any game that I can remember recently. I think that's a good point. They were running right a lot, and Dominic Puni's a big reason why. Puni was doing a great job in this game, and I think we've got a star on our hands. He's going to continue to get better and better and develop into potentially one of those great players. I mean, I got a text during the game about like, hey, Dominic Puni, this guy might be a Pro Bowler sooner rather than later. And I think that's what people are seeing is Dominic Puni is very solid when it comes to pass protection, but his run blocking is getting more and more effective. And that's great news. Imagine if you can run left and you can also run right. And we know Aaron Banks went down with the calf injury. I'm not sure exactly what's going to be the details on that. So we'll see how that plays out. But Spencer Burford stepped in, played left guard, did a pretty good job. And how about that 49ers interior depth where you got a guy, Spencer Burford, that started a lot of games for the 49ers, being able to step in and get some really good playing time and hold his own. So that's good news for the 49ers. Trent also being able to get some things done. Mr. Corey says, remember, I also said Puni would be a second-team All-Pro, 1 down, 1 to go. And if Dominic Puni gets second-team All-Pro, that's great news for this 49ers offensive line and this team overall. I mean, that's striking gold in the third round with Dominic Puni, pick 86. And I know a lot of people, it was funny, a lot of people before the draft did not like Dominic Puni. Go back and watch where I was mocking him to the 49ers, and people were not a fan of me taking Dominic Puni. They were not a fan of drafting an interior offensive lineman, but here we are. Dominic Puni is a good football player. And I think what we saw at the Senior Bowl, what we saw in training camp at the preseason is just continuing on the right trajectory for him. I mean, he just elevates his game every week. This was a test. You've got big Javon Kinlaw, over 330 pounds. You have Quinnen Williams. You have Solomon Thomas. I mean, those are 3 first-round picks, and he exceeds all expectations with flying colors. And, of course, the film will reveal even more, but I thought it was a great job by Dominic Puni in this game. Traffic says, let's go TCC. We're so back. And we are, Traffic. We are so back. NFL football was back this weekend, but it feels right now because 49ers football is back. And 49ers football is a different feel than anyone else. Give me 21 personnel. Give me Kyle Juszczyk. Give me Jordan Mason. And let's run down someone's throat. And that's what they did in this game. And because of the draft and development, in this case, an undrafted free agent in Jordan Mason, but the development of, he's a different player even than he was last year. He continues to grow. Because of that, you can withstand having a game where Christian McCaffrey can't play. And they're already starting to say maybe he won't play next week, according to Adam Schefter. But you know that you've got capable individuals behind McCaffrey, and what a luxury. And that's one of the things you look at when you're looking at a team that could potentially go far into the playoffs and potentially have a chance to get over the hump for a Super Bowl, is you're looking for a team that has the individuals, not just as a starting unit, but the depth when things start going wrong. And the 49ers have that with Jordan Mason. Absolutely fantastic. But yeah, we're so back, Traffic. We're so back. Excited about what's going on. And Mr. Corey brings up Jake Moody. And I must say, Jake Moody, very good today. 5 of 5, 2 50-plus yard field goals. I thought he looked really good. And that's also what Derek is saying here. Money, Moody, go Blue, go Niners. Hey, yeah, he looked cool, calm, and collected. He has the one go just off the uprights and through, and you see the little smile. This is a more confident Moody than we've had last year. I think last year Moody did a very good job, but I think this year he's way more confident and comfortable. He knows what to expect. You've seen that area where he was kicking those field goals. That end is what gave him a lot of problems last year. He would let those balls tail to the right side and miss. This time he was hitting them right down the middle. That 50-yarder, he left it a little bit too far to the left and it didn't draw to the middle. But overall, I thought he did a really good job. And thank you so much, David, who says like and subscribe. Put it out there. Yeah, like and subscribe. I really appreciate all the help that I get as far as liking and subscribing. It kicks it out in the algorithm. It means a lot. And David also said, Ayuk looked every bit like he missed camp. Never seen hands look so bad. You're right. He had the one in the end zone, right? It's going to be a tough catch, but he should make it. We expect Ayuk to make those catches. Also, the catch he made where they got a first down and he ran a stop route, Brock kind of threw it behind him. He almost dropped that one. You could tell it wasn't crisp. It wasn't clean. I thought the long throw that Brock made to the sideline on the out route where he beat Michael Carter, I thought that was a really good route and a really good catch for Brandon Ayuk. That's where you saw kind of Ayuk, but this was a game for him to get his feet wet, for him to get back in line with what the 49ers do, and now he's got to make some improvements. But you're right. He did not look like he was the old Brandon Ayuk. He looked like a guy that needs work, that needs reps. And the 49ers are going to have to work to get him those reps. That is for sure. Mr. Corey says Malik Collins already looks better than Hargrave. Well, Malik Collins is a good player, and he played really well today. But I thought Hargrave played well too. And so that's a good sign. We're going to have two guys. You have two penetrators on the inside. Those two guys can get after it. They're quick. You've seen Malik Collins use the swim move to slip a block, get into the backfield. You've seen Javon Hargrave making plays as well. I think Malik Collins flashed today. But I want to watch the All-22 to see how well Javon Hargrave played because I thought he played pretty good. And so I'm excited about that tandem. And you could tell when the 49ers had their first-team defense out there, the first-team defensive line, they were stopping the run. They were flying around. There wasn't very many holes for Breece Hall in that Jets running game. When you got to the second unit, it wasn't all pretty. But I think that's expectation. You kind of see that coming. But yeah, 49ers defensive run defense was so much better this game than it was last year. And that was going to be a point of emphasis. The Jets were going to try to run the ball downhill on the 49ers. The 49ers were going to try to run the ball downhill on the Jets. And the 49ers got it done early. And once they got a lead, that's when it became a problem for the Jets. They couldn't just stick with Breece Hall consistently. And they had to just go to throwing it a little bit. One-dimensional offense means you're more likely to know what's coming. And that worked out for the 49ers. But yeah, Malik Collins, Mr. Corey, liked him. He looked really good in this game. Was a fan. He said, I thought both our lines played well. Yeah, offense and defense handled business. I thought defensive line definitely did a good job. Would love to have seen a little bit more pressure, maybe get to Aaron Rodgers a little bit more. But the game plan for the Jets, you could tell, was to get rid of the football as quickly as possible. Don't allow Aaron Rodgers to take hits. Don't have him holding on to the football with long developing routes, and just get the ball out and let the playmakers pick up 5 yards. And if they could get extra, do that. That was the game plan to neutralize the front four. I thought that they tried to do a good job with that, but they couldn't execute at a high enough level. And you had Aaron Rodgers under 200 yards when it came to passing. So 49ers did a really good job, but you're right. Both lines looked really good in this football game. Mr. Corey says Lenore is about to get expensive. Lenore made that great play where he jumped the route, knocks the ball up in the air. DFF makes a great play on that. So you're right. Deommodore Lenore, he's going to get expensive. But I thought that what we noticed today was how many times did they throw at Charvarius Ward? Barely any. Charvarius Ward looked really good. Then we had the fact that you had a pretty good play from Isaac Yedem as well. Definitely an improvement of what we saw over Ambry Thomas last year. Huge fan of what we're seeing from those guys. So big fan. And thanks so much to David V. How's it going, David V? Always great to have David V in the house. Member for 36 months. So channel member for 36 months using his member benefits to leave the super chat. Says hashtag TC LFG Niners. So let's effing go Niners. Thanks so much, David V. And David V, one of the originals, holding it down for 49ers Cutback. I really appreciate you coming through, David V, and using your channel membership to leave a super chat. What's up, Phil? Phil says, how did Brendel do on rushing plays? Well, I mean, just from watching the point of view that I had, I was watching it on TV, of course. I thought he was actually pretty effective. And here's one of the things about Brendel. It's going to look good when you watch it on the TV copy because you see him get to the spot. And then the running back will kind of get by him or they'll pan over a little bit. The question is, can he hold that block? I think that's what we're going to find out on the All-22. But I thought the 49ers design of their offense today and some of the ways they were handling their blocking made it a little bit easier for guys like Brendel and others to get to the second level. They were willing to double team at times, but willing to also man up on guys like Kinlaw and even Quinnen Williams sometimes. And I think that really helped this run game. They took advantage of Solomon Thomas and Javon Kinlaw in this game. And so, yeah, he did okay. I think there's definitely room for improvement like always. And we know, Phil, right, it comes down to being able to maintain those blocks. And I think that's a question mark always with Brendel. But I thought he did pretty good today. But the All-22 is going to reveal what we didn't see on the television copy. That is for sure. David Campbell says, any injuries? I hate that the 49ers are on a short week with a cross-country travel. So we do know Aaron Banks is dealing with a calf. He did not come back into the game. Maybe that was precautionary. Spencer Burford played left guard. We also know that Christian McCaffrey still dealing with a calf. According to Adam Schefter, may not play next week, just like you brought up, the short week playing on the turf in Minnesota. Then we also had Jawan Jennings, who was dealing with the ankle. Now, he did come back in the game. I think that's a good sign, but we'll see what happens with that this week. Other than that, I didn't hear anything, but I did not watch the presser from Kyle Shanahan. I jumped on here with all of you to talk about the game, so I'm sure he'll reveal a little bit more. And then also, like always, when the 49ers come in tomorrow, that's when players sometimes will feel something they didn't realize. The adrenaline's rolling. You don't realize something hurts. Maybe your knee hurt for a little bit and then you're fine. And then come to find out like your knee was aching all night and you find out it's something else. So sometimes stuff pops up. Hopefully nothing does. And the 49ers stayed pretty much healthy because that would be big for them moving forward as they take on the Minnesota Vikings next week. And Sam Darnold, who had a pretty good football game. So Hugo, what's up? Hugo says, what's up, TCC? D2 is a straight dog, 6 for 6 from Moody. Any word on Banks? So I haven't heard anything yet. If anyone else hears anything, let me know because I would be curious. But all I had read so far was that it was a calf, and it could just be that maybe he was cramping, maybe he felt a strain. We'll see what happens. The good news was we had a plug-and-play guard ready to play in Spencer Burford. And Burford's played so many games within this offense that it was not hard for him to figure out. And that's the good news. Imagine that, having a swing guard like him. We still had Nick Sakel to play center. We are loaded on the inside of the offensive line. Ben Bartz wasn't even active today. Just shows you the depth. That's good news for the 49ers. They keep bringing these guys in and making good offensive linemen out of them. And that's Chris Furster doing his thing. What's up to my guy, Arnold? What's up? How's it going, Noodles? He says, Niners are only going to get better, baby. Let's go, Niners. Good stuff today, Ant. Yeah, it was good stuff. And always good to have you come in the chat, Arnold, and hear from you. Known each other a long time. So I love when you come through and share your opinion. And it was good. Niners, they're only going to get better. That's the thing. They're knocking off rust. Everyone in the league was. We did not see the full potential of any of these teams. I know the Saints came out like gangbusters, but still, that's not the best version of the Saints, and it's not indicative of who they're going to be all year. These teams are trying to figure things out, and the 49ers were knocking off rust today. You expect, as you get more time together, especially with the guys they just added in, Trent Williams, Brandon Ayuk, once they get McCaffrey back, for this to be a better offense. And then defensively, they're just going to get more comfortable with the scheme. Coach Nick Sorensen answered a lot of questions today about his ability to call defense. I thought he did a really good job. Great situational calling. He knew when to go ahead and pull the trigger on a blitz. He played good coverage. So to me, I thought that Nick Sorensen did a good job. And Brandon Staley, how much effectiveness did he have? We don't know. But so far, it was good. And let's see if they can capitalize on that and roll that into week 2. So it's going to be fun to see what they do. Mr. Corey says, Pearsall pick should have been Zach Frazier since Ayuk, Jennings, and Debo were extended. You know what? I don't think the 49ers were ever going to draft a center in the first round. It's just not their philosophy. If there would have been the right offensive tackle, I think they would have went that way. I think they decided that the offensive tackles that were left, they felt like they could get in another round. Maybe they really love Dominic Puni later on. But I just think that let's wait and see. Okay. I saw Ricky Pearsall at training camp, and I'm a fan of Pearsall. And let's just see what he can do. And the 49ers being able to open things up with guys like Pearsall, Ayuk, Debo, and Jawan. I mean, now you've got all these guys for the next couple of years. You are a perennial power. And guess what? When one of those guys, Ayuk or Debo or Jawan's not on the field, they need a break. Maybe it's something like Jawan where he injures his ankle for a few plays. You've got a guy like Pearsall that can step in. So I get it. You want the offensive lineman. Everyone wanted offensive line. But you know what? It's just the way it goes sometimes. What's up, Lou? How's it going? He says, hi, Ant. Late to the show. I was blacked out tonight. Can you give me a quick synopsis, please? Did the D or O play okay? Brock. So here it is. Brock Purdy. This wasn't his best game by any stretch of the imagination, but he was effective. He was good when he needed to be. He made some really good throws. There were some that got away from him, and that's okay. Only one pass that was really potentially interception possibility, the one he put down the seam to Eric Saubert. But for the most part, Brock looked like Brock. When it came to the defense, they were absolutely fantastic, minus 2 drives in this football game. The one drive, I think it was the third drive of the game, consistently gave up third downs. That's where you get a little bit nervous. Garrett Wilson had his way with the 49ers on that drive. Aaron Rodgers was putting the ball right on him, and that was a real issue. But the 49ers cleaned it up after that and played clean until they had the free play where we had Floyd and we had Fred Warner. Fred almost jumped. It caused Floyd to jump, and he took a shot at Lazard behind coverage, got the touchdown. Other than that, the 49ers defense was fantastic. They played the run well, really well, in fact, in this game. The defensive linemen were active in the run game. The alley defenders were flying upfield and coming to make tackles. Didn't always make the tackles. Tackling needs to get a little bit better. Expected, right, with the amount of non-tackling the 49ers do in practice and the fact that most of your starters don't play in the preseason. But I thought overall, defensive performance was really good. Offensively, I don't think they're firing on all cylinders. There was points left on the board with some of the, the Ayuk miscatch in the end zone. And I just think that there's more to it. The good news is the 49ers scored 32 points and really held the Jets. I know they got 19, but they held them to 2 touchdowns in this game. It was a great performance overall by the 49ers offense and defense, and they get the win. And was there things that didn't go all the way correct? Absolutely. That's what you expect in week 1. The good news is you beat a good defense and you did a pretty good job. So welcome to the show, Lou. Demonic Angel says, great to see you again, Ant. After that annoying offseason, we're back to winning and the TCC. And thanks so much for the new subscriber. I really appreciate it. Thanks for coming through and subscribing to the channel. And if you haven't subscribed yet, go ahead and subscribe to the channel. I really appreciate it. Yeah, you know what? It's good to get back to winning football. So, we knew that there was going to be a hangover for the fans from what happened last year. It was a tough offseason. There's a lot of things that people were questioning. And, it's tough when those types of things happen. But I'm glad people are coming back. And now we have something to come back for. The 49ers are playing good, solid football. 1-0. Seattle Seahawks 1-0. Rams, Cardinals lose. So 49ers, Seahawks, number 1 in the West. But we know this is a long season. 16 more games to go. 49ers focus on fixing the mistakes from this matchup versus the Jets and turn to next week against Minnesota, where they go against a familiar face in Sam Darnold. KNDR, what's up, KNDR? Using his member for 36 months as well, KNDR, an OG of 49ers Cutback. He says, like I texted you, the only thing that worried me about this game was the broadcast mentioning Rodgers grew up a 49ers fan. Shanahan owns his former coaches. 100% accurate. And yes, you did send me this. And it was by far spot on. They always mention that with Tom Brady and Aaron Rodgers. They're 49er fans and all that. But you're right. Shanahan handles his assistant coaches. He got to handle Solo this time. He's taken care of Mike McDaniel before. For the most part, he handles LaFleur. LaFleur did get him in the regular season once, but when it comes to playoffs, Shanahan owns LaFleur. McVay got him once, once they got the team built, right? 2017, the Rams definitely got him, but since then, it's pretty much ownage. Besides the 2021 NFC Championship game, Shanahan handles guys who coach with him, and especially assistant coaches. So you're right. I mean, it's kind of that same thing that happened for a long time with Bill Belichick. He handled all his assistants, and then somewhat with Nick Saban until finally Kirby Smart got over the hump and took care of business. But yeah, that's definitely something that happens. And thanks for using your membership benefits to go ahead and send a super chat. David says, it appeared that Lazard TD was an Odom blown assignment. Yeah, you know what? I did not catch who had the deep third on that play. I know we had a single high safety look. I seen Jair Brown in the view of the play, but my thought was the 49ers were playing something with a robber where you had a Jair Brown playing over the middle and they ran a Lazard up the seam. And I think you're right. I think Odom didn't react to it fast enough. And so that's probably what it was. So you might be correct, David. That's probably a good point on that play that he allowed that to happen. And, you know, part of the reason Aaron Rodgers is willing to make that throw is because he knows there's no danger, there's no risk. If he throws it and it ends up getting an interception or knocked it away or whatever, he doesn't have to worry about it. It's just going to be a 5-yard penalty and he moves on. That's what's tough about those plays because, you know, Rodgers doesn't feel any risk and then he can take a shot. Key says, how did Puni do it? He did good. Dominic Puni is a very solid player. This guy is going to be consistent. This was a test for him. 3 first-round picks. And I know Kinlaw, Solomon Thomas aren't exactly the most dynamic, but Kinlaw had a good season last year, and the Super Bowl was probably his best game of the season. And don't just take my word for it. That's what Kyle Shanahan said in his interview this week. So Kinlaw has been playing well, especially rushing the passer. And I thought that's though Dominic Puni's advantage over everyone. He's so good in pass protection. He anchors so well. So he did a good job. Is it perfect? No. Is there things he's going to have to work on and clean up? Absolutely. But the thing is, from the time you've seen him, you know, from college to the Senior Bowl, he got better. From the Senior Bowl to training camp, he got better. From training camp to the preseason, he got better. From the preseason to now, he's gotten better. So with the way that he's ascending in his growth, it's just a matter of time before this guy becomes a solid interior offensive lineman for years, like a Pro Bowl caliber player. So that's exciting. So Phil says, hey, what does TCC mean? It means the cutback crew. That we've had that hashtag for a little while. People would leave it in there. So David V throwing it down for me so much. He says, yeah, it's the cutback crew. So yeah, if you come into the chat, you put hashtag TCC. A lot of the originals do it. You can tell who the OGs are. But yeah, everyone feel free to do that. It kicks the algorithm, makes it go. Really good. And then Mr. Corey says he gives Puni an A+ today. I have no arguments right now. I mean, maybe when I get into all 22, I'll say, oh, but for overall, from what I think he probably did, good. I think Dominic Puni is a very good player. I'm very excited about his potential. Mr. Corey says, can't believe there were so many ex-49ers on the Jets, 2 first-rounders. Yeah, they got a lot, right? They have Kinlaw, they have Solomon Thomas, they have Tack McKinley. We only had him for a short period of time. But, guys, we drafted a guy like DJ Reed. They have a backup that we had last year, Isaiah Oliver. There's a lot of 49ers on that defense, and it makes sense because it's the same scheme. Robert Saleh / Jeff Ulbrich run the same scheme, so players are interchangeable. And the Jets were trying to improve their run defense. Not so far. We'll see what happens in weeks to come, but not so far. They haven't got it done yet. And I think that's something that, we knew was going to be a problem for them in this game. But Jordan Mason had 28 carries for 147 yards and a touchdown, and he got robbed of a 17-yard touchdown because that was not holding on Deebo Samuel. That was a great block on Sauce Gardner. Sauce wanted none of it. Deebo was driving him into the end zone. That happens 1,000 times every single week in the NFL, and they never call it. It was a bad call, but hey, you know what? Jordan Mason just shook it off and got things done. They used Deebo Samuel in the backfield a little bit, and he had 8 carries for 23 yards. And so he under 3 yards in the game, but it gave the 49ers a different look that they used also when it came to throwing the football. I thought it was a unique look by Kyle Shanahan, the way he was motioning him in the backfield. I kind of enjoyed that. So the final numbers for Brock, he was 19 of 29 for 231 yards. His average yards, on per catch were 8, which is a lot lower than normal. He did have 2 sacks. One of them, it was he moved with the pocket. He ended up just diving, so he didn't lose any yards. He probably could have thrown that one away, but hey, it's just, being nitpicky. They'll work on that When it comes to Breece Hall, he had 16 carries for 54 yards. And you know, if you watch my game preview show, that was one thing I brought up about this in the Wow That's Bowl predictions. I expected the 49ers to hold Breece Hall under 75 yards rushing, and they got it done. They did a really good job with that. And then I also thought Deommodore Lenoir was going to get an interception. He did not, but he did contribute to an interception, knocking that ball in the air, and to DFF, who was in the right place at the right time, and he was able to make a play. So when it comes to leading receivers for the San Francisco 49ers, you had Juwan Jennings, 5 catches for 64 yards. He did a good job, 5 catches on 5 targets. Debo had 5 catches for 54 yards. Juszczyk, 2 catches for 40, including a one down the sideline. He gets lost, right? Aikman was saying, hey, they should have thrown it to Juszczyk. They're ignoring him. Kyle doesn't miss stuff like that, comes back to it on the other side and gets a big play on a wheel route for Kyle Juszczyk for 34 yards. That was big, getting him involved. George Kittle didn't have as big a game as I was thinking. I thought he would go over 80 yards in this game, but he did have 4 catches for 40 yards. And then Brandon Ayuk had 2 catches for 28 yards. So Ayuk was targeted 5 times in this game, which is pretty close to norm. Last year it was around 6, and he had 2 catches for 28 yards. So we know he had the drop for a touchdown. That would have changed some things in this game. So there's definitely some work that needs to be done with the offense, but overall, I thought they did a pretty good job. And thanks so much for subscribing, Taj. I really appreciate it. You know, if you're public on YouTube, it's going to come up to me so I can see who has subscribed, and I really appreciate it. Key says, Niners ran over the Jets. That was sweet. It was, and that's one of the ways that it gets a little bit demoralizing. When you can consistently run the football the way the 49ers are, it does a couple of things. Number one, it starts getting in your head, and you start going backwards while the offense is able to go forward. Then it takes the pressure off the pass protection, which makes it huge. But when you get to the third quarter, and by the time you got to the middle of the third quarter, the Jets were on fumes in week 1, and the 49ers took advantage of it. It was fun to see, so I like it. This, of course, is if Sorensen leaves in the offseason, who would you rather have back, Saleh or Ulbrich? I think with Kyle Shanahan's relationship with Robert Saleh, it would possibly be Saleh, but you don't know if Saleh wants to come back. So then Jeff Ulbrich would make a lot of sense for the Niners. But that's saying that Brandon Staley or Daniel Bullocks don't become your new defensive coordinator. Bullocks interviewed for it this year. I think he's an emerging coach on this coaching staff, but also Brandon Staley is here helping Sorensen right now. Now, do I think Sorensen's leaving after 1 year? I don't. I think Sorensen's going to be here for this year and next year for sure. If the 49ers defense is really good for those 2 seasons, then he will start getting head coaching looks. But this is still an offensive coaching league. It's going to be offensive coaches they look at first. So Sorensen will be around, I think, for a couple of years. But it's a great question. What happens when Robert Saleh, if they don't have a playoff win this year, he might get fired, and that's unfortunate. We like Robert Saleh. We want him to do well. Maybe rooting for him. I hope he wins a playoff game. I hope he gets to stay, in New York and does a good job. But, at some point, yeah, he might be available. We'll see if that matches up with what the 49ers need. So we'll see. Davis says, I feel comfortable going forward with the defensive backfield going to need it with some of the teams later this year. Cough, Rams. Yeah, and what's going to be interesting is this matchup in week 3 with the Rams takes on a little bit of a different look because it's probably going to be the coming out party for Hufanga, who will probably be returning. And that game seems likely he could be back. It's going to be at home on natural grass. I don't think it'll be this week on turf. I think they'll wait a week. So likely Hufanga comes back. Probably Christian McCaffrey comes back. So that'll be interesting. But also, Puka Nacua is going to go on IR, so he's not going to be available. Rams still have weapons. They still have guys that can get it done. So you still got Cooper Kupp, right? You still got weapons, but it definitely took a hit without Puka Nacua. And so 49ers might get a little bit of an advantage when it comes to week 3 in that matchup. And so we'll see what happens. Wait, you know what? I think week 3 might actually be on the road. I misspoke. Week 3 is going to be in LA, but I think it is likely we could see Talanoa Hufanga come back and Christian McCaffrey come back week 3. It's week 11, I think, that the 49ers play at home. So I misspoke about that, but yeah, that's going to be interesting. But no Puka Nacua, he won't be available. So I'm kind of excited, to see him. And like Mr. Corey says right here, I'm actually looking forward to Pearsall. I think he might stretch the field more than Debo. He'll stretch it. The thing about Ricky Pearsall, he has patience in his route running that you don't normally see from a rookie. Everything usually seems sped up for a rookie. They're trying to do everything real quick and get out of the breaks. He's real calm. He's real precise with his route running, and he creates separation. The same way Jawan Jennings creates natural separation on routes, so does Ricky Pearsall. And so that's one thing that I'm excited to see. Plus, he's unafraid. He'll go over the middle of the field. He'll make catches. I just think that he's a nice addition to this 49ers offense. And I wonder what happens sometimes if we get some 4 receiver looks. Haven't seen him very much in Kyle Shanahan's tenure, barely at all. But could you imagine seeing Jennings and Pearsall, Debo, and Ayuk on the field together? Maybe you go empty and you have Christian McCaffrey out there, or maybe he can go in the backfield, but you're going to get some unique looks. That would put a lot of stress on a nickel. You might actually get a dime package. And then could you run against a dime package? Yes, you could put George Kittle on the field. I talked about this in the offseason. Put George Kittle on the field with those 4 receivers, and then you motion Debo back if you want to run the ball. You could also throw. You could put McCaffrey out there and pull George off sometimes. You don't want George and McCaffrey off the field, but occasionally for a new look and take advantage of a defensive set, maybe they don't have 4 good defensive backs or 5 good defensive backs. You could take advantage of it. Just something to remember as we move forward in the season. Robert says Jennings looked good. My concern coming into this game was the D-line stopping the run, and they did. Yeah, they did a great job. And I'm curious to watch the linebacker play. I want to see what happened with Demetrius finding fouls. And some of the other guys, I know Fred was going to do his job, but Devondre Campbell, what was he going to look like? What were the safeties going to look like coming into the box and playing it? So, yeah, they did a really good job in this game. Shut it down. I thought they were going to be a little bit better. I was surprised with how good Malik Collins was. I thought he was even better than advertised. And that's really good news that, he's going to be there. And what's up, Niner Fanatic Podcast? How's it going? Peter Lucas in the house. If you guys haven't checked out the pod, check it out. And I'm doing good. I'm excited about, how the 49ers are playing. So, yeah, they played well tonight. Was it perfect? No. And I think I'm going to keep echoing that sentiment because it's not expected to be perfect. It's really not. Week 1, you're not expecting to be firing on all cylinders. You don't have those games that kind of get you going the way preseason is now. Mr. Corey says, imagine the team with Greenlaw, Hufanga, and Gross Matos. Yeah, they're going to be better. That's the thing. You put Gross Matos in there with Robert Beal Jr. Gross Matos is an improvement. Now you go to obvious pass rush downs, and you got Gross Matos in there sometimes. A little bit of a NASCAR package. That helps. Hufanga is one of the best at tackling in the alley. And also, he's just real in depth with recognizing route concepts and knowing where he's supposed to be. His ability to read plays from what he's seen on film in the pre-snap reads, it's bar none one of the best. Him and Fred Warner are phenomenal at it. So I think that's going to be huge for the 49ers getting those guys back. And Greenlaw, once you get him and you've got Devondre Campbell and Fred Warner, that's the best linebacker core in the NFL, 1 through 3. It's really fantastic. So excited about it. Robert says, what about KJ Wright? Linebackers make good DCs. Yeah, so right now he's quality control. I expect at some point that he will move up within this 49ers defense. And I do think eventually if he sticks with it, could be somebody that eventually becomes a defensive coordinator. I think it's going to take him a little bit of time. D'Amico Ryan's head coach, he worked his way up the ranks, and then he got his opportunity. Same with Nick Sorensen. So KJ Wright is on that track. Eventually he will get there and get an opportunity, and we'll see when that is. If he's in San Francisco or somewhere else, that's going to be one of the keys, to this. And what's up, WTM? Says Coach Ant, what grade do you give our O-line? I think I'm going to give them a solid B when it comes to overall play, because I don't know about the pass protection compared to the run blocking. I thought they did a really good job run blocking. I'm sure there were some plays that were ineffective, and you could tell because Jordan Mason didn't really have a lot of room to go. Of course, the Jets were loading up the box, but I will say with a solid B. And, I'm going to kind of reserve the right that when I watch the All-22 to kind of move that up if they play better or move it down. But I think that's kind of where they were, just what I saw. So I'm excited about, that offensive line and how well they gelled, especially with the young Dominic Puni playing right guard. I think that's good news for the 49ers. Mr. Corey says, I didn't think Odom and Campbell played well. I don't think George Odom played as bad as probably it looked like on film. And I think Devondre Campbell, there were a missed tackle or two that I didn't really care for. But ultimately, he's usually in the right spot at the right time. but we'll see, because there was a lot of people that were saying negative things about Campbell coming out of the Raiders game in the preseason. And I went back and watched the All-22, which I broke down over on Patreon. And, of course, I'll be breaking down every play from this game over on Patreon. If you guys like that, you can go sign up on Patreon. But one thing I saw was Campbell was usually in the right spots. And sometimes not understanding what the concept was as far as the coverage, you might think somebody else is in the wrong place when they're really not. So we'll see. I definitely think they made mistakes. I'll tell you that much. Oh, but I didn't think it was like bad play. Lou says, did Cowing play tonight? Sorry, guys. Yeah, he handled all the punt returns. Did not really see him when it came to offense. Saw Ronnie Bell a little bit. Saw Chris Conley to go with the mainstays, Jawan Jennings, Debo, and Brandon Ayuk. But not a lot of Cowing when it came to offense today. In fact, I don't remember him being out there, but handled punt return duties and did phenomenal. He's got a little wiggle to him. Definitely like where he's going with that. The 49ers have a dynamic potential punt returner, especially the more comfortable and confident he gets with it. And David says, Puni looks like the real deal. He is the real deal. I honestly believe Dominic Puni is the real deal. And so I'm excited about him. I think he's going to be a star for this 49ers offensive line for a while. And that's good. I mean, we need guys like that. WTM, Coach Ant, Puni will be first-team All-Pro? No, I don't think Dominic Puni is going to ascend to first-team All-Pro in year one. Is there an outside chance for him to get named a Pro Bowl player? Yes. I think that's a little bit more of the ceiling for Dominic Puni in year one. But I definitely think Dominic Puni's got the ability to have a really good season and get a lot of recognition around the league for what he's capable of doing. So All-Pro, I think that might be reaching a little bit too high. Pro Bowl, potentially, and we know that those are graded completely different. What's up? Texas Tio, a.k.a. Tio Roberto. How's it going, Uncle Rob? Says, Shanahan to Saleh, bow to your sensei. Mason was on fire. Yeah, well said. And it's always fun for Shanahan going against his former coaches because these guys are friends. But this is one of those things that Kyle Shanahan has a distinct advantage with. If he understands what you're trying to do fundamentally with your scheme, he can make you break your rules and manipulate you to do different things. He just does it at a different level. So that puts every coach that he understands how they think at a disadvantage. So guys who have coached with him that have had to pour their ideas into him for a while, the likelihood of them being able to beat Kyle Shanahan is not that good. But your point is right completely. Bow to your sensei because he just has a better understanding of what Saleh does compared to what Saleh has for what Kyle Shanahan does. And Shanahan always makes sure he evolves. I mean, look at this game where he has Debo in the backfield and he motions him out behind the tackle and then would still run outside zone the other way. That little wrinkle, he would run that and then sometimes snap it and have Debo running the Texas route or an angle route over the middle of the field. Those were little ways to get him an advantage against a linebacker in the passing game or to get him where he could go a little bit further, maybe move a linebacker that's in the cutback a little bit further out and then go back. There's just little small subtleties to what he does that just make it more difficult. Motions with the motion to go out, return motions. It's just Kyle Shanahan being Kyle Shanahan and dialing things up, and he does a good job with it. So, yeah, I mean, he took care of business today. Filthy Casual says, Ayuk not earning his contract money. Well, I think it's, we see a guy that definitely looked rusty after not having any practice time 1 week. He did not earn it today, that's for sure. He did have a couple good catches, which, I'll tip my cap to him. But let's wait and see. Maybe he'll be a little bit better next week. By the time we get to the Rams and week 4, we'll potentially have Brandon Ayuk playing at a higher level. And so that's what I think that, we'll be more excited about Ayuk. But let's see. Hopefully this doesn't consistently be the production we get from Ayuk during the season. Kyle Shanahan was not afraid to target him, 5 targets in this game. And so I think at some point he will earn that contract money once he gets more comfortable within the offense and gets back to getting the practice in. He just needs it. And so it'll be big for him in this game, and I think he'll do it. What's up, David? Again, says, I am pretty sure I saw a missed Trent block. That might have been a house call for Mason. He knew it too. You could see it on the replay. Yeah, there was a couple of times that Trent Williams got beat across his face. He was supposed to get in front of that guy. They were able to get down. I definitely think that conditioning was an issue for Trent Williams. We saw him go into the locker room there to get an IV. I think that's something that, we never seen really Trent Williams do, but he's got to get back in shape. And the only way you're going to get back in shape is by playing football. So week 3, week 4, I think that's when Trent Williams will look back to all-pro form. But, it's funny. I was listening to a Jets podcast the other day, just kind of checking out what they were saying. They were echoing some of the same sentiments. But one thing I like that they said is, okay, he's an all-pro, Trent Williams. Even if he's at 85%, he's a Pro Bowl caliber player, and they're not entirely wrong. So a couple of missed blocks here and there definitely have for Trent. Was it his best game? Was it his cleanest game? No. Was it still the best we were going to get from a left tackle? Absolutely. But you're right. That play, I remember it distinctly. The guy got across his face and was able to make the play, and I do think it would have been a touchdown. So you're on point. Mr. Corey says his catch going out of bounds was a big catch. That was. And for anyone that questions Brock Purdy's arm strength, that was a throw from the opposing hash mark all the way across the field, 15 yards up the field and then out. That is a long pass on that play. And that was fantastic. Those are those plays that if you don't have the arm strength to make that, that's an interception. Somebody drives on that ball, picks it and takes it to the house. So, yes, that was a phenomenal play from Brock Purdy. And Brandon Ayuk ran a great route, got the necessary separation, good hand catch, gets his feet down. That was the Ayuk we were used to. But I think even the energy from Ayuk was a little bit different in this game. So I'm kind of hoping that Ayuk is going to, once he gets back in rhythm, kind of get back to that Ayuk, that dog mentality that we had before, which I don't think we really saw in this game. But I do think he's going to get there. He just needs a little bit of time, and then he'll get back up to speed. But overall, the 49ers had 2 turnovers that they caused in this game. You had De'Amara Lenore knocking the ball away, gets picked off by DFF. Fred Warner causes a fumble, recovered by Malik Collins. Those were big plays. So, 49ers making some things happen on defense, and that's what they had to do in this game. They had to cause problems, and they did cause problems. And for the Jets, they were just overall pretty much dominated, by a 49ers team that had, basically doubled time of possession, doubled plays, pretty much. I think the last drive might have made it so it wasn't doubled. But overall, you just seen the 49ers handle business. There's going to be some things, that they need to get a little bit better at, of course. They're going to want to improve. But overall, this is how you start a game. This is how you get stuff going for your offense and for this team. WTF says, Coach, and what grade do you give the new starting corner Yedem? I thought Isaac Yedem did a good job. I know he got beat up the sideline by Alan Lazard, and that was a great throw, and he allowed a little bit of separation. He was playing him to the sideline, but he wasn't in phase. He didn't have a hand on, and so he's got to make sure he plays him a little bit tighter than that. I don't think he was expecting Lazard to get upfield that quickly, but he got a clean release that he was able to get upfield. And, Aaron Rodgers was Aaron Rodgers on that play, and he made a great throw, and it was a great catch. But you saw some of the Isaac Yedem stuff that we love, knocking that ball away from Garrett Wilson on the big 4th down play. He competes. And I think if there's one thing we can take it away from this game is right now Isaac Yedem is an improvement over what we were getting from our third corner last season. So right now, Lenore's better, Charvarius Ward's better than they were last season. They continue to get better. And then Isaac Yedem is better than what we were getting from cornerback 3 last year, which means guess what? Our cornerback room is a lot better. So, and you see this, Ayuk looked sullen and aloof. He'll be all right. I agree. He's going to be just fine. We're gonna be good when he feels comfortable in this. He's going to get more into the swing of things, and he will be just fine. And then Mr. Corey says nobody talking about Fred Warner because we're used to his greatness, and that is true. That's unfortunate. It's just Fred doing Fred things, right? He comes with that big punch and hits that ball out. I seen him coming a mile away. I'm literally watching the game with my family, and I'm yelling as this play is happening. I said, I go, comes Fred, and I'm like, there it is, because I seen him coming a mile away, and he hit that ball in Breece Hall, perfectly timed, perfectly executed. Fred just makes things happen. And that's what we've loved about Fred for a while. And now you're starting to see other guys that can do that too. Look at De'Amara Lenore, just makes things happen. And that's why getting Talanoa Hufanga back in is going to be great too, because he's going to make things happen as well. So guys, I'm going to check out. I would like to say this. Thanks everyone for watching and tuning in. You guys have made this week really fantastic. Looking forward to all week getting more into the Jets because we got some stuff to break down, but then also turning it into the Vikings and talking about them on a short week. 49ers versus Vikings on Sunday. Please like and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. I appreciate everyone that's been doing it. This, of course, is 49ers Cutback on Believe. It's available on all audio platforms, wherever you listen to your podcast. This episode was brought to you by Bet Online. The game starts here. I will catch you guys in the next one. Until then, stay safe. And remember, the right way is always the 49ers way.